Good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that team, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers in not fully calculated 2023 yet, but we're either close or just a little over 100,000 fathers in 2023. Also, 2022 we did it, 2021 we did it, and actually we just recorded our first episode for the new year yesterday. So have new content coming out via that platform in the near future. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And a few housekeeping rules. Just let's do it first. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Then also follow the Dr. Vibe Show on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, if you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I host or am a part of, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And never forget, join the Morning Vibe Instagram group. We have conversations there with you all, and I want to encourage you to be part of it. And if you want to be part of it, just email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. A few things before we get really going. Coming up on Monday's program, we're scheduled to have Michael Couteau, who's a federal government representative, a member of the Black Canada Caucus, on Monday morning at 9 a.m. So if you follow me, especially on YouTube, I've already got that post up. So that's coming up Monday morning at 9 a.m. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll be with Aisha K. Staggers and Laura Lalaki. Pride Time Saturdays with Aisha and Lala, which is not a broadcast on the platforms that I host or manage, but it's also broadcast on the Fly Nubian Queen platform, which is run by Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. And that platform has 560,000 followers, YouTube platform. So if you're with us live, please chime in for wherever you are. Say hello where you're chiming in from. A lot of North America is having some very crazy weather. It's supposed to heighten this weekend. I'm in Toronto. I think starting later on tonight, we're supposed to get a lot of snow, then tomorrow morning some rain, and then a lot of snow again. And then the temperature is going to drop on Sunday. I'm actually scheduled to, just a little plug here, the Walnut Foundation, which is a Toronto-based organization that's really focusing on Black men and prostate cancer. They're having a free prostate cancer check tomorrow morning at the Jamaica Canadian Association in the Toronto area. So I don't know what the weather's going to be like. I told them I'm going to try to get out there, but if the weather is not making it, but I want to really emphasize, if you're a Black man, especially a Black man over 40, please get your prostate cancer check. It really impacts a lot of Black men more than any other demographic. So please and thank you. Do it. And I spoke with Anthony Henry, who's the head of the Walnut Foundation, offline this week. And he said, yeah, it's specifically for Black men, 40 plus, if you don't have a doctor, if you haven't had your prostate cancer checked, because in many cases here, if you're a Black man, you want to get that done. In where I live, you have to pay to get it done. They're offering it free of charge. So can't miss out on that. And also want to hail up Fruitpreneur Lab, which is a it's a nonprofit, Canadian-based nonprofit that highlights BIPOC women, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and helping them get their food to shelf or to mass markets. And they had a celebration last night of their third cohort at a place called the Drake Hotel in Toronto. You know what? When I went there, I said, I've never been there. And it was nice to go to the Drake Hotel, check out the nice stuff. Now, uh, funny story or good story first? Okay, let's tell the funny story. So, in downtown Toronto, it's like most metropolitan metropolitan cities, it's always parking is a challenge. And I'm going around trying to find a parking space, and I saw one on the street. I actually ended up turning down a one-way street and coming back on the main street that I wanted to park on. So I park. I say, great. Only have to pay, and I'm going to show you the ticket. Can't see it. Yeah, you can't because it's too bright. Sorry, $2.25 for parking. So I put the parking ticket on the seat of my car over a coat. So when I'm leaving the event last night, I see a ticket on my window. I'm going, darn, I should have put the ticket on the car dash so the guy who gives out tickets could have seen it. So here's the ticket, $30. I'm going to be paying it today. But the good thing about it was a great event. The organization is run by Janice Bartley and a great team. And Janice, and actually her sister works as part of Foodpreneur Labs because the team wanted her sister on, and it was just such a wonderful event. Had a great conversation with two ladies last night. One lady got the business credit, Ocean's Apothecary, Aptohecary, but it's botanically based skin and body care. Miranda Pope had a great conversation, and her cousin was there, and her name is Nicole. She works for TD Bank, and Nicole is supporting her older cousin, and supporting her. And we had a great conversation, and it's funny because I didn't know anyone there other than Janice and her sister, and I just said hi to them quick because they were chatting with a whole bunch of people. So I ended up, meeting Nicole, and we started talking, and she goes, she asked me, tell me about yourself. I said, well, where do you want to start? She goes, from the bottom. I thought was good. I had never had anyone tell me start from the bottom, which is cool. And we were talking about, taking breaks during the guy. And she gets her blink time. She calls it her blink time during when she closes her eye and relax. So want to shout out to both of them. They have made last night a great experience. So let's what are we going to do first? Okay, a lot of people are chiming in, so let's get Fitness IQ says good morning. JJ Mars, good morning, chat. Good morning, JJ Mars. Good stuff. Yes, with a haircut. Yes, you're right, with the Walnut Foundation. Yes, well, I don't need one of them because I take care of it myself, but yes, Fitness IQ Cam talking about the Walnut Foundation. JJ Mars says, very cold here in Colorado, 17 degrees this morning. That's your morning? What? But good to have you as always, JJ Mars. Hope we see you tomorrow night or tomorrow during the morning vibe, because I think your time will be 2 or 3 hours behind. But if you subscribe to the Morning Vibe, or not the Morning Vibe, Dr. Vibe YouTube channel, you will see the posts already. Good morning, Opal Inspired. Always doing creative stuff on YouTube. Hope you're doing fine. Oh dear, to what Fitness IQ? I see. She goes, that looks like a green pea parking. It was green pea parking. Yes. So I'm going to pay my ticket today because, hey, I did wrong. I was in such a rush to get into the event. And then always, what is up, Wayne Harris, who you can catch every first Friday of each month doing Financial First Fridays with Wayne Harris. So we have caught up. And as always, we are very blessed to have, let me see. She goes, then get the app. What? I don't go downtown enough to get the app, but whatever. And I'm very leery of, well, that's a whole other conversation of apps and money, things like that. But let's get back to it. Dr. Tachi is here. We always love when she has time to talk about media, tech, and pop culture. Also, we're very happy to have her when she talks about updates about Indie Soup Media. And if you don't know about Indie Soup Media, I'm going to have her come on and tell you about it and give you updates about it. But if you have questions about media, tech, and pop culture, this is the person to come and check out. So without further, as one of her favorite words is ado, let's bring Dr. Tachi. What's going on, Dr. Tachi?
Hello. How are you?
Outstanding. How about you? And I love the looking very accoutrement today. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good, good.
Listen, why would I come on looking any less than myself? Look, when you build a reputation for how you show up online, you have to continue. So this was all my fault. I cannot just come on anyhow now whenever I'm online. Even if
Well,
2 minutes before I looked anyhow, I better get it together when I'm coming online.
you know,
So
no, so let's jump into this. Like you said, look how
yeah.
people look online. We're
Hmm.
gonna jump. I don't want to lose the moment. I eventually, I definitely want to talk about Mediascope, Dr. Boyce, and Dr. Alicia in the bit, but
Yeah.
how people look online in 2024. And actually, there was another story I heard too, just before I came on NPR, about there's this cruise ship that's doing like a cruise around the world. Have you heard about this? A cruise around the world?
Yes,
Okay, all right. Well, I'm glad.
yes.
Okay, yeah. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But what about
Okay.
how you look online in media tech and pop culture in 2024?
So I think that there should just be this continued excellence. And let me tell you what I am no longer going to accept from people, but I'm willing to help you fix. Showing up online anyhow, that means poor technical look, awful fuzzy video, sound not good. That's not acceptable. We are now, the pandemic began in 2020, right? And arguably maybe a little bit earlier. So 2020, I could accept people getting their wings, their technical media wings then. Now there is so much stuff, and now the barrier to entry is even lower than it has been in the past years. So there's no reason. So if we're talking about how to show up online, how to show up in video, etc., it needs to be best foot forward. No more excuses. What is this? You people have these things. Most people have some sort of smartphone these days that you can use the rear camera. First of all, is the best to use. That you can use your rear camera. So no excuses. Show up well technically.
Well, and this is, and I want to jump in. You did a post recently about using your rear camera. Can you
Yeah.
talk about that?
Absolutely. So, what people have a tendency to do is to use their, so here's my phone, and we have a tendency to use the front facing, or also known as selfie camera, because it's easy. That also comes from a couple of things: wanting to see ourselves. Okay, as we're doing it to make sure that we don't look crazy. And then also, if you're a live streamer, many live streaming apps have the ability for you to see the comments as they're going. So you want to be able to see them. Therefore, you use the front facing camera. Aside from live streaming, okay, if you are recording video, use the rear camera. I would even say if you can monitor comments from a second device and go live using the rear camera, use the rear camera because it is going to be a much better image. This is made like all the specs you see when you get your phone that, oh, it can shoot like this, shoots 8K video. You can shoot 2K, 4K, 8K. 16K will probably be coming. The fact that you can do that is null and void if you use the front facing camera or the selfie camera. So always use the rear camera. Now, some people are like, but I want to be able to see myself. They sell something called a selfie mirror that you can get from basically any retailer. I'll just put Amazon out there. You can do that. And you'll be able to, it attaches to the top of your phone. Usually there's an attachment, and you could do it either way, and you'll be able to see. So you will have it this way, and you'll see what the audience sees using this mirror. So just some media tips for you.
Oh, no,
Production.
right out of the box. And Fitness IQ Camp says guilty with selfie. Right,
Well,
right out of the
everybody
box.
is. Everybody is. I do
Okay,
it too sometimes.
all right. Okay, let's regress back. What is going on in the world with Indie Soup Media?
Oh, well, we are plugging and turning away. They are working on some of the final technical aspects. You know, the thing is when you're building a channel or a network of this type, it's not you do everything that you have to do, and then it's up to the developers to develop things. Well, they're also working on developing several things at one time, and so even if I say we are ready to go live tomorrow, they won't be. So they're working on the final technical aspects of it, but we're excited because in all of this time, as we've been waiting, we've been getting more and more interest, some wonderful people jumping on board. So yeah, so that's where we are, and I'm hoping to have a better idea of when I can give a kind of a solid date very soon.
So, for those who don't know and not met you before, um,
Mhm.
let's do a short background about yourself and then also some background on Indie Soup Media.
Okay, so my name is Dr. Tachi, or Chetachi Egwu. I am a media professor, filmmaker, media content producer, also a journalist. I, like Dr. Vibe, host a couple of online shows and make an appearance on a couple of others. I'm also a podcaster. One of the shows I do is called Media Scope, all things media tech and pop culture, that we are now going into season 9 for that when we come back. Also, I am the co-host and co-founder of a couple of podcasts, one called TV Channeling that I do with my good friend Kevin Williams, and we also do another one together called Pop Unfiltered. And both of those are basically, like TV, movies, film, pop culture, because we're both very passionate about pop culture. And then Indie Soup Media is kind of an extension of all of these things I'm talking about. The next logical step in content creation is to aggregate people together so that you all can congregate, benefit from each other's audiences, and extend your reach. So that's what I'm doing with Indie Soup Media. It is the heart of the independent content creator. That's what I like to call it. And it actually has several content areas, including lifestyle, arts and entertainment, business, tech, and education, and then global content and current issues. So you can see those are like umbrella areas. So a lot of different content falls underneath there. And we've got all sorts of people. And the thing that is that we're also an incubator. So because I have all this experience in live stream production, in production in general, and teaching people how to do this, we're like an incubator. So there are creators that have a great idea and have that personality and want to put something out there, but have no idea in the least of how to put together a show, how to put together a series. That's kind of what we help them with. So we have people like that, all the way to people who have had a solid presence, even on linear television for a while. So that's who we are.
All right, fantastic. Well, let's get right into it. Where do you want to start our conversation today in regards to media tech and pop culture? Also, periodically I'll be putting Dr. Tachi's contact information on the screen, but wherever you're watching this, except on Ryan's LinkedIn channel, because I can't put content there because I don't own it, her contact information is already there. So where do you want to start in regards to media tech and pop culture in 2024?
Ooh, let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. Did you catch the Sound of Music reference there?
Yes.
Anyway,
Got it. Got it.
It's mind blowing. So, well, first, let me preface this by saying that for the fourth time, I think this is my fourth year, I'm going to be in Ross Brand's 100 predictions book, and that's predictions about live streaming, about technology, about media. So I'm going to be in there, and there's some predictions that are going to be in there that I may go into a little bit, but it's interesting. So I want to talk about some of the forecast for, like you said, media and tech and pop culture. So let me start with a media piece.
Yep.
We are going to continue to see layoffs, unfortunately, in media and tech this year. It's like when you take a bite of something and you're like, okay, that's too big. Or a good example is like if you are eating spaghetti, right? Or like lo mein noodles, right? And you have your chopsticks, right? And you take a really long, because people don't break up, the noodles, they're just as they are. You take a really long, big chunk. You can't stuff it all in your mouth, right? You have to kind of bite it and let the rest fall. Well, what has happened in the media industries and the tech industries is they've attempted to put the whole thing of ramen, lo mein, whatever, and now they're having to bite to let the rest go. And so that's what's happening. And it's unfortunate because that means people are affected. But we're going to see that. And in fact, just this morning, let me tell you about some of the things that are coming down. So NBC News has actually laid off several dozen staffers. And that was actually yesterday that happened. So they are going to receive a severance package and 60 days notice before their employment ends. So we're going to see more things like that because look, the media industries that has been used as a cash cow. And I'm not saying there is no money to be made. There is, but the trillions upon trillions that people want to make all the time are simply not there because there is one source for the most part that funds media, and that is advertising. And if things are slowing down, remember the economy is tied to this. So if we had an economy that was slowing down, and we're coming out of a slowed economy, but it's still a little bit draggy for the most part. That means people are not buying things. That means advertisers are spending less on advertising, which then also affects all these other things. News in general is really, really affected by advertising. So we're going to see more of that. And let's look at Amazon Audible, for example. This came out yesterday too, that they cut 5% of their staff. Okay, so this actually is following the announcement of hundreds of jobs in the Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios division that we talked about before. Well, that I've talked about before. So that's one thing that we're actually going to see, unfortunately, a little bit more of. I'm sure that people are trying to stave that off, or companies are trying to stave that off, but unfortunately, we're going to see some layoffs because people bit off more than they can chew. Too much ramen.
Well, Opal Inspired love the ramen analogy. So she said she loves that. Okay,
I'm hungry. Full disclosure. So,
okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a quick break, and we're gonna do do our usual promo with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia. But I think that also ties into the whole mediascape about convergence, combining, and also how it impacts platforms like yourself, like Indie Soup Media. This is all tied in because the layoffs and all that all tie in.
Absolutely.
So Fit Nance IQ says me too. So you hit something with that ramen analogy with people this morning. They say, even though it's like on the East Coast 9:23 in the morning, people are swinging around, but they're hungry. So obviously you hit it right on the point. But we'll be back in 90 seconds, and we'll talk about how these layoffs are impacting not only traditional media, big media, but also great opportunities for independent media. And when you talk about independent media creators, here's one right here with his wife. We'll be back.
And that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like, I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. No, really, the rappers get all the attention. Seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room.
Overly sexualized Black folks.
Like the twerkers and the just people that don't always represent the best of us. The diversity. Like people like Dr. Vibe. Like everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe. Dr.
Really
Vibe he's trying to do good work for Black people.
Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. A lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
All right. We are back with Dr. Tachi, and we just left Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. Always hail up to them in regards to independent media, as always. And so I want to ask, jumping back with Dr. Tachi here today, you talked about layoffs, etc. before we went to break. How are all these layoffs impacting independent media and independent media creators through your lens, and what the impact is going to be in 2024?
Excellent question. So I think it's multi-layered when we look at that. So obviously, the people that are leaving or being laid off from some of these positions, they may be looking for making lateral moves into other positions and trying to see if they can attain things that way. But for many, I shouldn't say many, for some or a few, they may be looking at, okay, this is the industry that I love. How can I continue on and not be tied to a big entity for my livelihood, right? So all you have to do is look at, I mean, whether you like him or you don't, Roland Martin and what he's been able to do since leaving CNN and News One. Also, a good example of this is Angela Rye. Are you familiar with Angela Rye?
I just yesterday, I hadn't seen her for a minute, and then in my Instagram feed, I saw two things yesterday. I saw her being interviewed with Charlamagne the God on CNN by, can't remember the Black woman's name.
Yes.
I can't, and I hadn't, and I just saw, oh, Angela Rye. Haven't heard from her in a minute, though. The only time I had heard from her recently, she's dating a gentleman who used to be a CNN guy, not CNN, ESPN basketball. He used to pay for, I can't remember, but she's allegedly dating him. But then after that, I saw in my feed she has a new podcast also. Now, I don't know if it's with two other people or not.
It is. It is.
Interesting.
Yes.
Now, one of the gentlemen I went, but I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the, and forgive me, I know there are three of them. I know one is Andrew Gillum, who was the former,
yes. Tiffany Cross is the other.
Governor.
Tiffany Cross.
Yes. So
yes.
Tiffany Cross, and then Andrew Gillum, who was running for governor of Florida. Against the person that's currently there, and did not win, but a lot of allegations, a hotel room, and all sorts of things. Scandal came out about that. So I was really, it was interesting to see Andrew Gillum as part of this. But it's going. He is a politician, and I believe he's also an attorney, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I could be wrong, but she definitely is an attorney. And so it's called Native Land Pod, or the Native Land Podcast, and it is produced by our iHeartRadio. So I think we're going to start to see more of those things. And here's the thing. She talks about it in the first episode. I've only gotten halfway through the first episode, but in the preview, she talks about the cutting of ties with CNN. So they basically, according to the clip that I saw, have not renewed her contributor contract. So I don't know if that has been revised or what the case is, because I haven't listened to the rest of the episode. I would encourage people to listen to the episode to hear what happened. But apparently that's the thing. So when you're beholden to these big media companies everybody wants to be a contributor. This is the thing. Everybody looks for media exposure, right? And traditional media exposure. So many people want to be on, a contributor to CNN. I want to do this. I want to be a contributor to MSNBC, because it does look good on the resume. But that is at will employment. So after a while, they could decide whenever that they don't want to renew your contributing contract or whatever the case may be. And that's it. So the only way you can ensure that nobody lets you go is if you have your own. And this is, even though they have this deal with iHeart, this is their podcast. So
yeah. Yeah, I think, as you're sharing it, it was because I'm going, and she sort of disappeared. But I think also with the changing climate at CNN, where they got a little bit less left of center, I could see how Angela Rye, where she comes mindset wise, wasn't the greatest of alignment probably for them.
Absolutely. And that could be, it doesn't mean that is the end of her being a contributor to any traditional linear media. MSNBC may see her and say, oh, we need to get her on board. You never know. So that could, I mean, honestly, if you ask me, that's something that I could see happening. I don't know. Well, I do know why, because she had the contract with CNN, but I could really see MSNBC jumping on that with her, at least as a contributor.
All right. I think there is a great example that's come out this year about what you were just talking about, leveraging your media. Shannon Sharp. Probably the top. Let's put it this way: forget about just Black. He's the top media person right now, because you look at, he has his club Shay Shay. Of course, he had the conversation with Cat Williams's, which probably at the end of the day may be the most watched YouTube content ever. It's right now, I know, second. He also has the ESPN gig. I think he's a perfect example of how you can strategically put it out there. And it's interesting, one of his most recent episodes, I guess people pushing back on what he did with Cat Williams on his show. He said, hey, I'm not a journalist. I'm an entertainer. He said, if you want journalism, watch 60 Minutes, watch Dateline, watch Lester Holt. He just put it right out there. What do you think that his impact could potentially have on the media landscape going forward?
And this is interesting because I just said this on the conversation that I had last week with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia. So we were talking about this, and I brought this up as an ending piece that, yeah, I'm not necessarily, it was engaging TV, let me say that, but I'm not necessarily here for seeing people, especially melanated people, beat up on one another, regardless of what the circumstances are. I think those are things that need to be done out of the public eye, because it just stirs up messiness, and most people don't have good things to say about that.
Yes.
So the conversation it tends to go very far left or right or whatever. So, but I did say this. I said, if you look at what that has been able to do for independent media, so Fitness IQ said that right now it's we made 44 million.
4 million views in 8 days.
44 million, right? I haven't looked. I don't know if it's still at 44 million, but I haven't looked. When I looked, it was the same day that they put it up. It was at 4.2 million, like probably 4 hours after they put it up. I said, let me go and watch it. 4.2 million. Within a couple of other hours, it had doubled. So it just it's like an isotope. It keeps dividing or cell division. It keeps dividing. So
wow, cell division.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know where that came from, but go with me. You know me already, Dr. Bob. So
yeah,
that says to me, thank you. That says to me that there is real potential in reaching your audience directly without an intermediary. And the fact that things like YouTube and these places where people can post and design and create their own content is a big deal. It is a big deal that for some reason, traditional media still don't consider. And the way they don't consider it is because there's still some people who consider the traditional media to be the end all and be all. So that to me speaks volumes. The whole Shannon Sharp and Club Shay Shay, that speaks volumes to what can be done. Now, what happens is you have to be smart about it. You can't just go and replicate a Club Shay Shay and get through the same thing. No, it's not about that. You also have to realize that he does have some connections where he's able to get some of these people. That's different, but you don't have to have connections. You don't have to have famous people on to have an impact, because all we have to do is look at the Forbes list for 2023 of top creators and what they've been able to do. Number one on that list is Mr. Beast. Last year, he made $82 million, not just from his YouTube channel, but also
Wow.
from associated things.
Yep.
82 million. He is number one on that list. So that lets you know that it is completely possible to get a following that you cultivate, to get views that you cultivate. And we're going to see more of that. I hope people start to know, because everybody keeps chasing after these same big networks to put me on. I'm going to pitch. Okay, keep pitching. Believe me, you will be sitting there with your idea till the next millennium, because they don't know you. If they don't know you, they're not going to work with you. And so because of that, and there are people who are smart enough to know that, they're like, I can't wait on this space. I have to do my own. Even and end up working for, remember when Tyler, there was an actress who did a billboard in Atlanta, and to Tyler Perry said, I'm your next leading lady. Well, it ended up working because she did get a role, but my thing would have been, you may have been better served, and money better served, to take that same money that you spent on the billboard and produce something like a pilot or an episode, post it, get people around you to. But when you're not thinking that way, when you think like a worker instead of a boss,
Yes.
that's what happens.
Yes. Think like a boss. I like that. It's just interesting. And you look at, just using the Club Shay Shay as an example. In some ways, though, he has mirrored, like when you watch linear TV, a lot of it is reality television. And then in a lot of ways, he's bringing reality content to his platform. Like the Cat Williams thing, it'd be perfect for linear television.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But ask yourself.
Yep.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Go ahead. Well, ask yourself, would they have picked that up? Would traditional linear television, would you have seen that there? You never would have. Now, what happens is linear television is always late to the game. So they see this and the success of this, and now they're all, how can we replicate? Because they're not futurists. In this game, you need to be a futurist. They will not sit and see. They look. No, don't get me wrong. They're looking at what's happening, but they're always somehow thinking that they are above or better than that, and therefore, because they have a legacy, I don't have to do all of that. Well, you rest on your laurels too long, and what happens is Club Shay Shay comes in. What show do you know that has ever garnered in showing plus replays in the same week 44 million? What traditional linear television show has ever done that?
None.
If it's ever happened, go ahead.
The only time it's ever happened in real time is like things like the Super Bowl.
Exactly. And I don't even think it got the Super Bowl had, and I could be wrong, but I don't even think the Super Bowl garnered that much.
Probably has. But yeah, I just, it's very interesting. And, people like yourself, myself, we've been told, and we know that independent media creation is where it's at, because even now, it's funny. One of the shows I don't watch a lot of regular linear television, but one of the shows I do watch are shows like crime shows like Dateline, 48 Hours. And you see more and more over the last few years, when they're doing their stories, like when they're looking at a murder mystery, they bring in, here's someone who ran a podcast who talked about this story. Yes. 3 or 4 years ago, they would make no mention of podcasters, etc., in their mainline story. So just even that, slowly but surely, at least in the true crime space especially, they see the strength of independent content creators.
True crime is a huge and will continue to be a huge genre in media. Especially, there are a lot of true crime podcasts. There are a lot of
Yes.
that's a huge genre of podcasts. So we'll continue to see that definitely this year. But really quickly, to speak to the Shannon Sharpe thing, and you were talking about, he said he's not a journalist. He's not, and I think that's what people also need to remember. That I was watching and I was cringing at points. I'm like, there wasn't a better way to ask that. But then I had to remember he's not a journalist. He's not a journalist, but yet he's had an impact that most journalists would love to have. And so
Absolutely.
I think that we need to let down the guard sometimes even though I'm a journalist, I'm a stickler for good journalism and things being done well and doing your research. I'm a filmmaker, so I love good video and good sound and things being done well. However, the average viewer gives their damn sometimes about those things. And so the first person who comes with slick talk, they will follow after. That's why those of us who know how to do it well, we need to engage and we need to lead the conversation on these.
Yes. Hey, longtime content contributor who I only see when you're on William says, I love this conversation. Going back to the Blab days. William, what is up? Hey, but he goes, I want to try that cognac right now that on the Cubs Shay show that they do.
Apparently it was smooth. I don't even like alcohol, so
Cat thought it was smooth.
yeah, he thought it was very smooth. And another thing about this, and I don't want to go too long about this, and hey to Cassandra. We'll flip soon. Hey to Cassandra London on Facebook. The thing about the whole thing is the reason it was so engaging is not only because the whole thing seemed to be messy and people love to watch a train wreck, and it wasn't necessarily a train wreck for them, but a train wreck for the people that we were talking about. People love that, like you said, reality television. Cat Williams, say what you want about him. He is Mensa brilliant. He is so high level when it comes to things. I actually used to use, there was a set, I can't remember which comedy special I used to use to teach from, but there was a comedy special that I used to use to teach from, the one where he talked about poor little Tink Tink in there and the tiger. The brilliance in that. So I had my students watch. I said, please excuse the language, but I want you to watch from a communication standpoint what he is saying through humor without really saying it.
Yeah.
So that's
dude.
another reason that made it very smart, very intelligent. That's what made it go off well as well. Although, again, we don't have to tear each other down for that. But the thing that was also engaging was the fact that he is so brilliant and so intelligent, where I don't think somebody else doing that, it would have gone off as well. So
you could see the content was questioned, but the brilliance and the way he set it up and ran through it and did the process was and I think one last thing I'll say, I think Shannon Sharpe got more than he expected with that conversation. I think right from the get-go,
he wasn't ready.
He wasn't ready. And I think that's also
not ready.
And I think that was part of the allure with so many people watching, going, wow, he never expected this, etc. So let's move on to tech.
Yeah.
2 letters, AI.
Oh. Let me say this. There are many people that are still fearful of AI, still afraid of AI. And let's be clear and let's be real. There's some great potential for AI, for society. It could also be used in a diabolical manner, but that's with anything, right? Medicine can cure you and medicine can kill you. It's all in the way that the user utilizes it. But I urge people not to be afraid of AI, because what happens is that you get left behind. Some people may want to be left behind. That's fine. But then you can't very well come and complain when things are not going your way because you've refused to not even fully embrace, but at least consider AI and its use. AI, as we've seen, because what was the big thing in 2023? Chat GPT. So what we're going to continue to see is the rise of generative AI and more companies getting into that space to go head to head. And it's already happening with Google Bard. It's already happening with what is the other one? It's Bard.
Well, Microsoft. Yeah, Google. Talk about Google Bard, because people may not. A lot of things you know and I know about, but the general audience may not even know about this. So don't make that assumption.
That's true, but I also like to assume that the Morning Vibe audience is very intelligent. So I don't want to talk down, but let me, just in case somebody doesn't know. So generative AI obviously are AI tools that allow you to generate content for you to use, answer questions when you are wondering. And it goes beyond just a, for example, Google search, right? And so you can actually, the other day, I needed to make a form. I'm like, I don't feel like making it. I said, please help me make a form that XYZ. It came with a graph and everything. I said, thank you. And you just have to change what you want. So it really is about saving time so that you can do other things. This is life-changing and revolutionary for businesses. So that's about AI, generative AI in general. So Chat GPT is owned by OpenAI, but which is now a project. I don't know how fully, but it hasn't. I don't know if it's been fully acquired. Somebody can tell me, by Microsoft, but it is a Microsoft project. So when you go to Microsoft Edge, you have full use of ChatGPT 4, not 3.5, ChatGPT 4, which is the one that they pay for. Now, I don't know that it allows you to create your own kind of GPT databases. I don't think it does. But for that basic feature, you have access to 4 through Microsoft Edge, their browser. Also, Bing, right? So you are able to get through the Bing app, or if you go to bing.com, you're able to create images and do get results for your words, phrases, etc. by putting in prompts there using ChatGPT 4 as well. But there is another one. There are 3, and I don't know why it's escaping me. So somebody put it in.
Thanks for that. And I think at the current moment, I'm not 100% certain that Microsoft owns 51% of OpenAI, I believe.
Right.
And correct me if I'm wrong. But again, and you look back, what was one of the big things tech-wise over the last year, the big controversy at OpenAI, where basically the gentleman who was in charge, he got kicked out, then he got brought, then Microsoft picked him up, then he went back to open.
Exactly.
Open,
because
right?
all 700 employees signed a statement saying that if he doesn't come back, we're out. So they brought him back, and what's his name? Sam Altman? Is that his name?
No,
yes. Sam Altman is Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Why am I forgetting his name? It will come to me.
All right, I'll find it.
Yeah. So he then said he said, I'll come back, but all y'all on the board got to go. So I believe there are just 2 left from the original board. So it's been messy nonetheless. And I think whenever revenue gets involved with this, this is when we start to have the messiness that happens.
Okay. I think it's Sam Altman is his name.
It is Sam Altman. Okay. It's Bankman is the one for, okay. So Sam Altman is ChatGPT. Bankman Fried is the one that got indicted for, okay. They all have the same name.
There we go. Anyway. All right. So a few, it's crazy. So Williams says, I discovered Bard a week ago. He also says DALL-E and Midjourney. Do you know any of those names? Okay.
I do. So DALL-E is and Midjourney, they are generative AI for images. So if you're
Oh.
looking to generate AI images, you could use Midjourney and DALL-E for those. You're also able to generate images through everybody has this now, right? So when you sign into Canva, which I use a lot, Canva allows you to
They have
generate
that.
AI
Yeah.
images. Although it's still janky a little bit because I
Yeah.
tried it. I'm like, what is this? This is just ugly. But they're getting better. And the point of AI is that it's also machine learning. So it learns as it goes along. That's ugly. Can you make something else? So, they try. It's trying. And so every program, it seems like, has some sort of generative AI
Component.
aspect to it. Component,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. Chris Langford, haven't seen you a while. Chris, good to see you. Good to see you. And William says DALL-E is included in Chat GPT 4.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Exactly. It is included in Chat GPT 4.
So do you use the paid or non-paid version of Chat GPT?
So this is interesting because I wanted to check out what the paid version was like. I paid for 1 month, but I've canceled it because obviously they just now gave you the ability to use Chat GPT 4, obviously through Edge and then through Bing, which is now called Bing Chat, which is now called Copilot. So if you have Bing on your phone, you'll notice that it has changed to Copilot. So I'm like, I'm not paying for this when, and it's one thing if I'm looking to really create my own GPTs and if I'm looking to do a lot of things with it. Right now, I'm not. So I don't see the utility for me in paying $20 a month.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't use it enough. I don't. And any stuff I would want is basically generic. And I could probably find in the free version. But you know what? I'm not hearing, there's a major tech player that I'm not hearing too much from in AI, but I know they're working on stuff. Apple. You hear a lot about
Apple.
You hear a lot from Google. You hear a lot from Microsoft, but I'm not hearing a lot. Now I know they've got to be working on stuff, but you're not hearing them in the game. So I'm sure they got something coming.
They are. Well, here's the thing. Let's look at software has never really been the big push for them. Consumer hardware has always been their big focus. Now, again, they do have, they have their app store, but that's not them developing it. That's a lot of different developers doing things. They have some software-based things that they're doing. The biggest example for me is, as somebody who edits video quite a bit, I used to be solidly Final Cut Pro. But then, whenever they change things and it's not compatible with your machine anymore, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that. Bye. So, that's why I switched to Premiere. But basically, they work the same way. Like, there was no learning curve for me because I already knew Final Cut. I was able to figure out Premiere because I don't like to read directions. So I was able to do that. But for the longest time, they have not really made significant upgrades to Final Cut. So it shows you that software is not their big thing. Their cash cow is consumer hardware. So I'm not saying they are not working on things. They probably are. But hardware is their big thing. And I think that's for now what they're going to stick to. But in the background, they probably have some things going because at some point you reach saturation point with hardware. At some point, everybody who is going to get your iPhone 15 will get it. At some point, and you can then, of course, rely on those who will get it after the fact, the resale market, etc. But at some point, you reach somewhat of a saturation and it levels off and then dips a bit. So with software, you're ensured that you can keep making improvements to it to keep people in the loop. So at some point, they're going to have to get more serious about some of their software game. And I think AI will be where they do it.
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to have to implement it on some, whether it's their uh, operating systems, Final Cut Pro. They're going to have to get in that game, or they're going to lose a lot.
I think so. I think so. But again, they are like, I'm doing just fine with this. The next thing that they have another, what is it now? It is, I don't know if they have another event coming up in February. I have to look. But they could traditionally always do the spring, so probably March, and they always do September. So they do 2 a year. And although last year, for some reason, I think they did 3. So it is what it is. We'll see.
All right. Good stuff. Let's see. We have a comment here. Oh, good morning. Frequency event promotions used late, but no problem. That's why you can watch the replay. All right. Let's talk about the world of pop culture. What do you see? What sort of thing you see in 2024?
Well, so the interesting thing is that pop culture crosses over with a lot of media, right, and a lot of tech. So let's talk about this media end of it, and what's happened. We've already started to kind of look at that. The fact of podcasts will continue to be a thing, right? You can never. It seems like you could never have too many podcasts, but I guess you can. So here's the thing. I'm looking at people, even though this is still media, this is still pop culture. I am not certain that theaters are going to bounce back in the way they thought they would. And this to me is an indication that you were already on the decline before the pandemic happened. So I think many people like to blame the pandemic, and rightfully so, because I'm still not going to somebody's crusty theater to watch anything. I'll wait for streaming. But this lets you know that there was already a decline in people making movie night a thing at a physical theater. So we can probably look at the numbers to see that, but I suspect that things were already on the decline, and there's some big reasons why. The closing of the theatrical windows between streaming and when it's in the theaters. Right now, it's only 90 days for most, right? Some may take it out a little longer, but it's 90 days. So within 3 months, you're going to be able to. That's why I'm not rushing to go see The Color Purple. And I know it's good for box office, but here's the thing. We have to start to think more 21st century, 22nd century media and pop culture minded, right? People want to be comfortable. They don't want to spend. How much are you spending when you go to the movies?
I haven't been to a movie in such a long time.
When did Black Panther come out? The first one?
Wow.
It was 2018, wasn't it?
Yeah, around that.
That was probably the last time I was in a physical theater.
Wow.
Wait, was it? Wait, no, 2019, I did go to see something in the theater. Because wait a minute, I saw Crazy Rich Asians, that was 2018, or was it 19? So whatever, I think it was 2019 I was in the theater. Then the pandemic happened and I really wasn't going back. But I think that now when we look at from a pop culture perspective, people enjoying and taking in pop culture from the comforts of home. So I don't think we're going to see this big resurgence so AMC better figure something out. Cinemark better figure something out.
So here's the thing: if it wasn't for 4 media properties, what would the state of theaters be right now? Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Barbie, and I can't remember the other big movie that was the basically
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, if it wasn't for those properties, where would the theater industry be right now?
They were reliant on those 4 big kind of blockbusters to pull them through, but that's not enough. 4 blockbusters does not a cinematic industry make. So right now, if they didn't have that, they would probably be in some trouble. And part of the thing is too, and again, all of this kind of intersperses. So there really is no delineation sometimes between pop culture and that. So they would not be they're already not healthy. They would be even less healthy or sicker, right? And I think that the big thing is that people want these record profits. That at the end of the day, because they have shareholders and shareholders are expecting to make a profit, they have to make these huge profits. And often there's no way to tell whether or not you're going to make these huge profits. Even if you're making a sequel based off of that, well, people like that first one. That doesn't mean they're going to like the second one. The second one could completely flop. So you're playing a complete game of chicken with these things.
You know, and you bring that, and I'm going to tie all three of these all in, especially if you look at the example of Taylor Swift. She went directly, she took her media directly to the theaters and negotiated directly with them. She took out, and I think that's even a bigger example than at the beginning when we talked about Shannon Sharpe. She negotiated directly with the theaters. She said, "I don't need you guys negotiate. I've got a big enough property. I'll do it on my own."
Exactly. And that goes, that goes to that rise of independent media, right? That these popular culture icons, these popular culture people are able to on their own do things. So that's another trend. Again, it's all together. That the fact that I can negotiate my own, especially if I have a big enough name, that I can negotiate the terms that I want. I can get my own sponsors. I can get all sorts of things and do it outright without having an intermediary. That's huge. And that's going to continue into 2024. In fact, I mean, that whole thing with the Taylor Swift and the Beyonce movies and this type of thing. And that's another thing we're going to start to see more of, probably the concert film. But it's not going to be widespread because not everybody wants to go see everyone. But I think many people are going to try and see, how can I spin whatever I'm doing into some sort of theatrical release or some sort of big project? How can I do this? How can I get more out of? So this was a tour. Both of them already are the Eras tour and then Beyonce's tour. They were already garnering people. These were cultural phenomena. If you think about it and you look about the fandom in both of those communities,
yes,
it's insane. So fandom is a huge thing. People identifying with one celebrity or another. That is a huge thing. So now the thing is, how do I take that fandom and spin it into something that not only makes me money, but includes them? Look at what Beyonce did with her tour and said to everyone, wear silver. Was silver not sold out at Temu, Amazon, any place that sold silver clothing, accessories, and shoes? Sold out. Because people, that's power. That's real economic power as well. So this is what we're seeing as well, this huge influence in amongst pop culture icons with their audiences. And not that has never been done before, but the fact that I tell you what to wear to a concert and you comply.
Yeah, well, there's a word you're very good in the vernacular. I would say some of that is sheeple, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, you know what? It is sheeple, but I think it's you know what? I think it's more community. I think people have pop culture works because it's interesting, but then it also, you form a community around it. And I think we're going to see more of the rise of communities this year. I remember when Pose, the show Pose was on. I loved Pose. It was so well written. it's a period piece because it was from like the 80s in New York City, talked about ballroom culture amongst Black and brown youth, and life in general for them. I loved the show. It was just so well written. Well, we had a whole community on Facebook. I was in 2 Pose groups where we watched the shows, we talked about what happened, we posted things. And now, since the show has gone off, I haven't really been active in the group or whatever. And, I don't know if a lot of people are, but we form community around those things. So I think we're going to see, and not that that's the first time that it has ever happened, but with the rise of places like Facebook or Meta and other places encouraging people to form groups and making it so that you can form groups, you're going to see more groups formed around these things in pop culture.
Yeah, I agree with you, because that's something I got into a little bit more, is doing groups. So I about 3 or 4 years ago, I was working with a student. I said, what's the best way for me to get in touch? He said, Discord. I said, what's that? And then I become a big Discord fan. I become I run about 3 or 4 different communities on Discord. And I think and I agree with you, the importance of community. If you are a content creator, you should make sure you have a place where you have your whole community in one place where they can interact. Not only you can interact with them, but they can interact with each other. There's a gentleman who does a lot of good stuff on YouTube. And he's got millions of followers, and he says, join my Discord group. I go, wow, you are using a Discord group and you're very good at, and I felt very, very good about that. So Les Frequency Event Promotion says, great conversation here. There was a survey posted recently indicating that companies are taken out as a degree requirement and are basing higher talent from skills and typed work experience. I see where that relates. I think more and more people now are looking for people who have they've got I guess skills are important, but I don't know where that, but it also seems that great work backed up with analytics equates to Shannon Sharp money and or phenomenal brand recognition in context of working independently. Well, yeah, we talked about that earlier. He definitely is got, and his community has a huge community.
He does.
And it's only growing. And I think right now, I would say he is one of the most powerful people in media right now. He is one of the most, and what he did, like I was listening to a show the other day, probably one of the greatest blunders in sports media history was the day that Fox Sports let Shannon Sharp go.
Well, they're feeling it now.
Big time.
They're feeling it now. But again, that's why I say that the traditional media just don't get it.
Yeah.
And they don't get it for a number of reasons. But one big thing is they're not futurists. They can't see beyond what they've given you to do. And so Shannon Sharp was like, well, that's fine. And now he's doing this. So of course he has that. He's got 2 podcasts. One also with Chad
Nightshade. And he has the Nightshade
right?
one. Yeah, that's another one. So he's got 3. So, and he's also on
ESPN.
2 days a week. But also another person, Stephen A. Smith, who's probably, if not one of the highest paid people in sports media. He also has his own show, and he don't hold back on that show. He drops F-bombs and things like that. And I'm wondering, it's interesting. He is very smart because he's leveraging. He and Jason Whitlock, who is they have a big battle going on. Right? And the other day, Stephen A. Smith came, and he said, I have held back. He went in there were beefs like crazy. And I'm going, man, 10, 15 years ago, would ESPN tolerate an employee who just carries on it? But they realize the weight that he brings in audience-wise and the money, because now you've got to look, Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, how much that show First Take must make in advertising revenue.
Absolutely. And they can command.
Yes.
They could command something big.
Well, here's a funny thing. I think in a year, Stephen A. Smith's contract expires on ESPN. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens? Because there's another gentleman on that platform named Pat McAfee, got a
Yes.
whole pile of money to leave. He was doing independent stuff. ESPN picked him up, and actually he took less money to go to ESPN, but his reach has just gone to next level. He's done so many things there. So
absolutely. But again, this is, we're looking at future. And even though, when you get on these platforms, obviously your reach expands, but for how long? The traditional linear television media, or even traditional streaming, is not always going to be the way, because now you're only talking to today's audience. You need to start thinking about tomorrow's audience. And where's tomorrow's audience? Are they watching that? Nope. They're more likely to watch probably a YouTube personality who is talking about sports or that type of thing, if that's what they're into. So they have to stop thinking that they're going to be the end all and be all. So they're throwing all this money now, but is it going to be worth it down the road? They don't think down the road. They think about today, because I need to make money for investors today. And this is what people want today. And then tomorrow they're scrambling. Well, okay, what can we do? How can we compete? Because you didn't think about tomorrow. You didn't save for tomorrow.
Okay, so Fitness IQ went, good idea. And she goes, Discord community forming, that is. Yes, it is. A lot of people, like the younger people are all on Discord. Use it for, if you have an older demographic, use it for them too, because it's a very, I'm not getting paid by Discord, but it's an easy platform to use. And what,
you just have to turn off all your messaging. I think so.
Because you get alerts. So Frequency Event Promotion says, in devastation, there's greater opportunity, and also says tomorrow's audience. Great point. We subscribe to what you are sharing here, Dr. Tachi.
Oh, thank you.
Can
I share a couple of more things? I'm sorry.
You wanted to share something else. My apologies for interrupting.
No, not at all. I wanted to share a couple of more things in terms of pop culture that we could see, that I've seen forecasted. So now I think we are starting to get ready for VR. We're still not there yet, but I think there's going to be more of a push toward VR, and then hence the metaverse. It really took off during the pandemic because we were sequestered inside and there was no place to go. This was a way for us to go places without actually going places. I think the thing is that the heaviness of the headset that kind of takes you out of the world. Also, in some cases, the cost prohibitiveness of the headset that allows you to go into those worlds were a thing that prevented it from really taking off with the masses. And so I'm not thinking that it's going to take off with the masses per se this year, but there's going to be more into it. So Apple has, released their VR headset. We're going to see more. We're going to see more smaller, lighter, please, because once that happens, it's not going to be something that takes you outside of that world. And as such, people are going to be able to do things more like having more concerts and events. So picture the Eras Tour. You're not able to go, but you're able to buy a VR ticket to experience it with other people because you have a headset. So I see more kind of hybridizations like that. I don't even think that's a word, but I'm making it one. More hybridizations of that type of thing. Also, let's talk a little bit about music and fashion. Social media, music, and fashion are going to be more of a thing, I think, this year, particularly with TikTok. As you know, what is it, that marketplace that they now have that you can actually buy things and shop off of TikTok? So we're going to see it deeper in music, and more people may be releasing music that way. But definitely fashion is going to be a big, and fashion is not just about the designing, not just about the fashion shows. That's also about the retail end of it. That's also about the shopping end of it. So I think that fashion is going to be a bigger thing this year when it comes to social media, particularly with something like TikTok. Now that we've seen Bitcoin, you know what's happening with Bitcoin, right? Where
ETF.
I don't want to say, yeah, the ETF. So this is now kind of, not that it wasn't legitimate before, because to those of us who are into the crypto space, and I still love crypto, it is legitimate. But that now happening makes it, quote, legitimate in another way for the masses. And as such, if you're able to do that, I think we're going to see a swing back of people interested in not just crypto, but also NFTs and entertainment. I think before, it was still very early in the game and people did not know what to do. What happened is that one NFT, one Bored Ape got sold for a ridiculous amount, and everybody tried to jump and do it, but not understanding the nuances. It's not just about that. It's about the fact that something can live on the blockchain forever in a ledger and prove that you are the owner of that. That one of XYZ is made and you own one of XYZ. So sure, you can go and make a copy of it, and but that doesn't make it that. It doesn't have the same digital imprint. So I don't think we were ready for that when it came down. So I think we're starting to go more toward that, if that makes any sense. So those are some of the things that I wanted to say. And then, of course, we've said this: rise of indie content creators, because if I'm laying off Tom and Harry and Sue and Emeka, yeah, I'm going to put an African name in there. If I'm laying off all these people, then Neville, let's go with the Jamaican.
that was one of my uncle's names, Neville.
Of course, if you're Jamaican, you have a Neville in your family. There's no way you don't. Or a Carlton or something. You have that in your family. So, or Stacey Ann, Carrie Ann, Anne Marie, something Ann. Peter Gay.
Yeah.
So why do I know this? Because I've taught for so long and had hordes of Jamaican students. So of course. But
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things, it's interesting, a number of years ago, Frequency Event Promotions goes Everton.
Everton, yes.
And Fitness IQ Can goes LOL. But a few years ago, I went to a country, it was a resort, and they had this thing called a silent disco. I go, what the heck is that? And for people who don't know what that is basically they had Frequency Event Promotions. I'm gonna get back to you in just a second. Eva Tun, and I'm going, and what it was, they had a DJ at the front and the hundreds of people on the floor, virtual headsets, just dancing away. So there you go. What you were saying. This was before you had the Beyonce and the Taylor Swift thing, and this was a few years ago. So there you go. But go ahead.
Well, I was about to say that also makes for more entertainment silos where you are experiencing things solo as opposed to in a group. And so I think people do love being in groups, but also for some people that is tiring and exhausting. So the fact that you are able to participate, whether it's VR, whether it's through this silent disco and you're having your own kind of party within a group, that kind of indicates that we're moving towards individualized pop culture, individualized media where you experience it by yourself rather than as a group.
Yeah, the rise of individual media content, and enjoying media as an individual and don't have to concern about the crowds. Definitely a good point. So Frequency Event Promotions goes Eva Tun. Dr. Tachi won't even go there. She just says that. But he also makes another interesting point. Trending in the news, Hertz car rental company is selling 20,000 electric vehicles. Reason: cost to repair is too high.
And you know who was it? It's not Hertz. It was another rental company that is selling off the Teslas they had because people are
Wow.
not renting them. And I think it also has to do with where you are. If you are, most of America is not the coast. I would submit that most of America probably lives close to the coast because that's where the opportunities, the ports, etc., historically are. But there's an awful lot in the middle of America. And then
Yes.
for Canada, most Canadians live along the U.S. border because the rest of
Yes.
Canada is
Yes. At
too
least
damn cold.
70% live within 100 miles of the U.S.
70%.
border. Yep.
Exactly. Exactly. So we're talking about things being very centralized, which means that if you're spread out all over the place, let's take the United States. If you're driving cross country, you're in an electric vehicle, you have to really take a route where you know you are going to be able to refuel.
Yep.
And I think that's part of the challenge. We don't have the infrastructure in the US to make that happen. And of course, oil and gas doesn't want that to happen.
Of course not.
Even though that's what they're using to make electricity in most cases. So it's counterintuitive as stupidity, but you know, the oil lobby, the gas lobby, they don't want for those types of things. They're vehemently against EVs. So that's another thing. And I can't remember which car rental company, but they're selling off their Teslas.
Yeah. And Fitness IQ Camp says, wasn't Hertz the one that bankrupted? I am not sure about that. I don't know if they ever went bankrupt. I'm not sure. I can quickly go ahead.
Well, and here's the thing. When you have the rise of car sharing,
Yes.
If I can sit back and let someone drive me, why do I need to go through the hassle of, okay, let me go get a rental? In some cases, you may not have a choice because you're someplace remote and you do need to have that car. But in other choices, if you're in a major city, I'll take public transport, or I'll take a taxi or ride share. And most people have the ride share. So for example, in New York City, the Via app has made me so lazy when I'm in New York, because generally, you know, I would hop on the subway and do what I need to do. But Via is an app, it's a ride sharing app, but it acts in a way kind of like a luxury bus. So they have these luxury cars, and for about $5, it's probably a little more now, you could get around Manhattan anywhere. It drops you off 2 blocks from where you're going to go. So you just have to walk 2 blocks up to the major street, get it, and it will let you off 2 blocks away. So you're just walking like 2 blocks to where you need to be. I'm like, I don't need to take the subway ever if this is the case. And it's absolutely amazing. So, you know, that's another reason for the decline in car rentals and because you can do ride sharing.
Yeah. So just update Fitness IQ Cam, you are correct. Hertz did go bankrupt, but they reemerged in 2021. I would just, while Dr. Tachi was sharing, here's a story from June 30th, 2021 headline: successful restructuring provides the company with increased liquidity, a significantly deleveraged balance sheet, and right-size efficient operations. Hertz poised to capitalize on travel rebound and long-term growth opportunities. So you are correct. They did declare bankruptcy, but they are back. But obviously, selling their electric cars. She says, yeah. She goes, I remember the stock going up about 350% and crashing. So you are correct. They have reemerged, but now they're getting rid of all their electronic cars. So I'm sure there's some gas companies that are very, very happy about that. Dr. Tachi, I know you don't have anything else to do today, so we're going to let you go. Any final comments you'd like to share with our audience today?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me as usual. I always love to share the outlook for media, tech, and pop culture. So thank you for giving me space. I would say that we should look for, as I was saying, there's going to be a growth in podcasts. So definitely looking for that, but podcasts in terms of dramas and storytelling. So I would say that one of the big themes for this year is definitely storytelling. While it has been easier for non-scripted content, kind of reality content to come to the forefront, I think we're going to start to see more of a growth in the creativity of writing, especially because of AI help. That you have some place to start, and I think we'll start to see more scripted podcasts, more scripted radio, more scripted content. We're already starting to see that on social media. Some of my favorite TikTokers and things come up with scenarios, and that's what I love watching. So we're going to see more of that, and especially because the whole thing with the writer's strike and the
Yes.
SAG-AFTRA strike, that really made people take a look at everything industry-wise, made people take a look. So I think that those who are involved with that, I hope they're seeing that sometimes, not in all cases, but sometimes there's no love lost, and they will throw you on the bus with no problem. So you have to have your own so that you can tell the story. So rise in independent media goes with that as well. So that's what I want to say.
Just one last thing I want to get your take on.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on TikTok?
You know, here's the thing. I think TikTok can be very effective depending on what your goals are. If your goal is to be a content creator and get eyes on your content, I think it is extremely effective because you can very easily get eyeballs on your content, get feedback on your content. If your goal is to convert to something else, it may be hard because people are there to watch your content and not necessarily buy. And I think this is why TikTok had instituted the whole marketplace where you can shop on TikTok and those types of things. Is money for them, but it also helps people convert. So I think it depends on your goals. For me, I'm on TikTok. I actually just probably a couple of months ago got to the 1,000 that I needed to be able to live stream. I think I've live streamed 3 times because what I realized is in doing that and going over there, I had people that join live streams and stuff, but it's not the people that I'm used to from all the other platforms I go live on. I don't get fed from the audience over there. Now, you could say I probably just need to do it longer. Yeah, absolutely. But what I don't have time to do anymore is the same show on 10 million different platforms. Now that IG has fallen in line and allowed me to go live there, I'm only doing the show one time. So so for me, TikTok is when I feel like it, but overall, it can be very effective, but you just have to know what your goals are in using TikTok.
Yeah, because I'll be totally honest here with everybody. People say, are you on TikTok? I said, the only time I was on TikTok is when I had a student working with me during a summer. Said, hey, how come you're not on TikTok? I said, I'm not willing to make the time to develop a community where my main community is already on YouTube. And because YouTube is owned by Google, if I do well on YouTube, it helps with Google SEO. And like it or not, 80% of the world uses Google for their browser. So strategically, right now it's not there. If someone says, "Oh, why aren't you big on YouTube?" I say, "Okay, manage it for me."
Exactly.
You know, and not so. I just want to I know lots of people YouTube. Well, and the thing is, not having the relate you can do well on TikTok, but that doesn't help you with Google, and people are still searching, right? They're still searching. And that's, even the other day, Fitness IQ said, well, how come you're not broadcasting more on Instagram? Right now, with the platform I use, it's not a smooth process. And B, my main drive right now is the YouTube thing. That's just me. So
yeah,
everyone has their own slice of pie, right?
Exactly. You have to go with what works for you. If you already have a community, focus on cultivating that. That doesn't mean you can't add in another community, but if it doesn't make sense for you, then don't do it, regardless of who says you should be there because.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So some final comments before we let Dr. Tachi go. Freakins Event Promotions goes, great show, Dr. Vibe and Dr. Tachi. Says, have a great weekend, everyone and all. Tuning out till next time. Absolutely. Leslie McEwen from Ottawa. Always a pleasure. Says always informative conversation. Thanks, Dr. Tachi. And that's it. So what's up next for Dr. Tachi?
Today maybe I'll take a nap. How about that?
I'm planning to do that. I make sure I have my daily naps. Yes. So yeah, this was listen, another conversation. Opal Inspired says, thanks, Dr. Tachi. Great insights. Brenda Elizabeth Williams says, thanks for this great show. Very welcome. Appreciate it. Yeah. So take a nap. That sounds like a good idea. So I'm going to let you go take a nap, and we'll probably chat later on in the day. And we got lots of things going on to help you all who are watching. So there's your contact information on the screen. I've shared it on a number of platforms. Dr. Tachi, always remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And thanks again for making an epic conversation. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. That is it. Dr. Tachi is out. Out. All right. So a few things coming up tomorrow night. If you're watching this now, tomorrow night, Saturday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, primetime Saturdays with Aisha and Lala. And for many of you, if you're, from what I hear with the weather that's going to go on in most of North America, you're not going to probably be going out. So tune in tomorrow night. Then Sunday afternoon, Black Canada Talking, 5 p.m. And then Monday morning, the Morning Vibe is back. Ryan will be back with us. We'll have Michael Couteau, who is the head of the Black Canada Caucus at the federal government of Canada. And then next Friday, we'll have Ray McMillan back. So we got a full roster of things happening. So as always, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification button. Also subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Advertise your business product or service on the platform or any of the platforms that I host or I'm a part of. Please contact me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. Also, and finally, join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Email me dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com, where you get exclusive content. For example, Wayne Harris was on a week ago from today, and he gave top tips for Canadians when it comes to finance in 2024. I'll be posting that this weekend, and I have some other people that I'm waiting on to give some special content for our Discord subscribers. If you want to get a hold of me, this is the different places: website, the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at the drvibeshow, and then X at drvibeshow. If you want to touch base with Ryan, there's all his contact information. So let's close it out. And also, you've seen on the bottom scrolling all the places where you can watch this conversation, the replays live. The Morning Vibe, you can catch it, the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and Facebook, Afro-Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, and Ryan Oneil Knight, YouTube and LinkedIn. So this is how we close it down. Oh, we have one more comment. Let's go. Oh, the McMillan Group, great conversation insight. Like the advice on using a platform where your audience is. Thank you, Ray McMillan. And then finally, let's close it out. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time. Manage your energy. God bless. Peace, well. Keep the faith, walk good, and let's rock it in 2024.
Here we go.